Continue with our focus on the changing face of our cities. At this hour, most cities are developing at a very fast pace, not only expanding into residential land but also into forests and wetlands. But the big questions today are: what impact do skyscrapers have on the environment, and how do cities impact local climate? Now, for more details on this, I'm joined via Skype by Groundworks Director Bobby Peake. Bobby, thank you so much for your time. And I suppose the first question to you is exactly about skyscrapers. Very beautiful, very grand to have in cities, but do they have an effect, of course, on the inner city planning?
Well, I think skyscrapers and massive buildings such as that in terms of big cities is not only the impact they have on the city, it's the impact they have on building these massive skyscrapers that has to be questioned whether it's needed. I think cities need to concentrate rather than on skyscrapers. They really need to concentrate on how do they deal with social justice issues. And when I speak about social justice issues, I mean housing, transport, I mean better energy for the poor, because it's the poor that's going to suffer from climate change when the floods come through and the heat waves come through. And finally, cities are also, Africa has the largest amount of fastest growing cities in the world. And these massive cities are going to be producing massive greenhouse gas emissions, and we have to reduce those.
Now, we've had conversations with constructors who said, they're venturing into eco-friendly buildings. They're considering that, of course, for the environment. Does that even play a role at all? Will that enhance, of course, the environment?
Well, it's not only about the building itself. I think it's about the infrastructure around the city. And one has to talk about transport systems. We can't have transport systems that are now reliant only on fossil fuels. We have to have transport systems that are reliable, that are cheap, and that are safe for people, to move people from the suburbs, from the townships into the cities. So that's really important. We need to have systems where people can also walk to work when it's needed. So the city is not only about the building, the city is about the transport infrastructure, the housing infrastructure, and critically, the service infrastructure, where the people have access to water and where the people have access to affordable energy, and critically energy that is also green rather than fossil fuel energy, i.e. energy from coal from Eskom.
And let's talk about that, because you also mentioned, social impacts, of course, in cities. In terms of population statistics, are we seeing more and more people moving and relocating to the city? Hence the need to make sure that there's also mobility, there's also, railways and transport, there's also water, there's all these resources to accommodate the number of people going there.
That is really critical. I think as people are drawn into cities, it's the cities that are going to be the hub of producing the waste, producing the air pollution. And so cities have to think now of where they want to be in 50 years and 100 years' time. So when you put in a system now to manage millions of people, you better put in the right system. Because if you put on a system that is reliant, for instance, on fossil fuels, but fossil fuel comes to an end in 30 years' time, you're going to have a city that does not work properly. So that's really critical to think about. But also what's critical to think about is when our president thinks about development and about planning in South Africa, we need to look at the reality of, can we accommodate everybody in cities, or should there be good rural planning as well? So people find value, people find homes where they are, and that they can live comfortably, safe, and viable in these areas.
All right, Ron.